Welcome back to Cozy Love Whispers. Tonight we're wrapped in warmth, and a story of healing, destiny, and love continues.
Prelude, Zane Alex, a ruthless CEO, a silver-haired healer. One is fire and ambition, the other, moonlight and magic. When Zane Alex's health begins to fail, he is sent away to a hidden retreat high in the quiet mountains, a place where the world slows, where the air is cold and the snow falls in silence. There he meets Nikolai, soft-spoken, gentle, with silver hair that catches the light like frost, and warmth in his hands that feels like something not of this world. What begins as obligation becomes something deeper, something neither of them can name, a bond that defies reason, star and moon, two souls, drawn together long before they ever met. The stars have already decided. They belong to each other. Once, Zane ruled his world through power and fear, but in the quiet hush of falling snow, he begins to change. Because of Nikolai, his little moon, from the stillness of the mountains to the noise of the world beyond, their lives begin to intertwine. Through healing, through destiny, through devotion. But love born of light is never simple. To reach one another, they must walk through silence, through surrender, through the quiet storms within themselves, until at last, the moon finds its star. Because before love could become forever, it first had to become healing. Chapter 1, The Heir, Zane Alex. The conference room was silent, not the respectful kind of silence, the terrified kind. Zane Alex sat at the head of the table like a god behind a glass wall, untouchable, unreadable. His fingers tapped rhythmically against the table, the only sound in the room. Eyes sharp, lips a thin line, he watched the trembling junior manager try and fail to present quarterly numbers without stuttering. Everyone else kept their heads down, barely breathing. No one wanted to be next. Micah, lounging in the seat beside him, with his suit jacket half off and a smirk playing at the corner of his mouth, sipped his iced coffee like this was just another Tuesday. "Is that the final projection?" Zane asked, voice cool and clipped. The manager jumped. Yes, sir. Based on the trend data. Then I suggest you start looking for a trend in competence," Zane cut in smoothly. "Because if that's your best work, we'll be needing someone else in your role by Monday." Micah sighed audibly and muttered, "And that's how you make a grown man cry before 10 a.m. Zane didn't blink. The junior manager fumbled with his tablet, bowed, and all but ran out of the room. Zane stood, adjusting his cufflinks with precise, surgical motions. "If I'm the only one in this room who gives a damn about performance, I suggest the rest of you reevaluate why you're here." He walked out. No goodbyes, no glances back. The air felt 20 degrees warmer the second he left. Micah stretched leisurely, then looked around the room and said, "He's really sweet once you get past the homicidal glares, I promise." Someone whimpered. Zane had built the company from the ground up, rebuilt it, really, from the ashes of what his father left behind. The business had been his father's pride, a symbol of control, a tool of dominance, just like their home. There was nothing warm about growing up under that man's roof. His father ruled with an iron fist, and Zane, along with his mother, bore the brunt of it. Love had no room in a house that demanded obedience. Zane had always been an overachiever. He had to be. His father expected nothing less than perfection, top of his class, scholarships, leadership awards, straight into business school. By the time he was finishing his MBA, Zane was already being scouted by major firms. Then came the call, his mother's voice, shaking and soaked in grief. His father had suffered a fatal heart attack in his office. Just like that, the tyrant was gone. Zane was sad, but he didn't have time to grieve. The company was collapsing. Debts, lawsuits, no direction, no one left to steer the sinking ship. So Zane stepped in. He was barely 24 when he sat in his father's chair for the first time. His college roommate, charismatic, charming, full of big ideas, offered to help. They signed the partnership papers over takeout and late-night promises. For a while, it worked, until it didn't. The debts mounted, clients pulled out, salaries fell behind, Zane barely slept. The pressure of holding everything together was eating him alive. And then, without warning, his business partner left. No goodbye, no confrontation, just a resignation email and an empty desk. Zane showed up to the office one morning, and the man who had sworn to help him rebuild had vanished. Just like his father, there one moment, gone the next. Zane didn't break down. He never did. Instead, he tightened his grip on the company and on himself and kept moving forward, alone. Enter Micah. Zane sat at his desk, jaw clenched so tightly it ached. He stared at the space across from him, the one that used to be filled with plans, with teamwork, with trust. Now it was empty, one email. That's all it took for Crit to walk away. I can't do this anymore. The office was already falling apart. Clients were vanishing, numbers were bleeding red, staff morale was non-existent, and now this? Zane lowered his head into his hands. He didn't cry. He never cried. Not even when his father died, slumped over that same desk. There was no space for grief. Not in his life. Not in this company. Only survival. The office door opened. No knock. No hesitation. The only person alive who'd dare. "Let me guess," Micah drawled, strolling in with 2 coffees and a crooked grin. Our boy finally cracked. Zane didn't lift his head. He's gone. Micah set the coffees down on the desk and dropped into the leather chair opposite him. "Good," he said, kicking one leg up over his knee. "He was dead weight. I told you he didn't have the guts for this. I needed him." "No," Micah said, voice sharp for the first time. "You needed help. There's a difference." Zane finally looked up. His face was pale, tired, and drawn. His eyes were still cold, but behind them, something had cracked. "I can't pay salaries next month." Micah nodded. "Then we figure out how to." "You don't work here." "Then hire me." Zane blinked. "You want in?" "I want you to stop trying to do everything alone." "This isn't your problem, Micah." "It is now," he said. "I made it mine the minute I saw what you were up against and didn't walk away." Zane leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "I don't even know where to begin." "Then start here," Micah said, leaning forward. "Strip the company down to the bones. No more legacy projects. No more chasing your father's shadow. You rebuild it your way. Leaner, smarter, cleaner." Zane didn't speak. He just sat there, breathing slow and heavy. Micah reached for one of the coffees and took a sip. "Also," he added, "you're going to stop treating people like they're disposable. You're better than your father, but you're still leading like him." Zane flinched. "You want this company to survive?" Micah continued. "Then it needs a new heart, and you need to find yours." "And where the hell do you think I'm supposed to find one of those?" Zane asked, bitter. Micah tilted his head and gave him a knowing look. "Don't worry," he said. "One day, someone will show up." The office was quiet, not the terrified kind this time, just still. Zane sat alone at his desk, the city lights stretching far beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows behind him. Everyone had gone home hours ago, but Zane didn't believe in after hours. Deadlines didn't sleep, and neither did he. His fingers moved across the keyboard, speed and precision masking the ache deep in his bones. He hadn't eaten since breakfast, hadn't stretched, hadn't stood. His coffee had gone cold 3 hours ago, untouched. He rubbed at his temple, eyes flickering toward the glowing numbers on his screen. Another budget report, another impossible solution to find. Then it hit him. A sudden, sharp tightness in his chest, like someone had grabbed his heart and squeezed. His left arm twitched, then burned, dull at first, then stronger. Zane blinked, shook it off, but the pressure didn't stop. In fact, it got worse. He hissed through his teeth and dropped his pen, clutching his arm. His breath hitched, chest tight, vision a little blurry. The room spun slightly, and for the first time in his life, Zane felt something he didn't know how to control. Panic. Just then, the door burst open. Micah. "Zane, have you seen the..." He stopped mid-sentence, the folder in his hand slipping to the floor. His eyes locked on Zane, pale and hunched over, gripping his arm. Micah didn't think. He moved. "Zane, talk to me. What's going on?" Zane tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. His jaw clenched, sweat dotted his brow. Micah's heart dropped to his stomach. No, 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 not like this. His mind flashed. Zane's father, heart attack, office, gone in minutes. Damn it, Zane, look at me. He pulled out his phone, already dialing. I need an ambulance, he snapped into the receiver. Downtown, Alex Holdings, top floor. CEO, possible heart attack. Hurry. Zane slumped forward slightly, breathing shallow. Micah caught him before he could fall out of the chair. You're okay, just hang on. He cradled Zane against his chest, arms firm but gentle. You're not your father, you hear me? You're not going out like this. The ambulance sirens echoed in the distance minutes later, but to Micah, it felt like hours. The sterile hum of the hospital lights pressed in from above. Zane stirred, his eyes fluttered open slowly, the ceiling above him unfamiliar, bright, and too still. He tried to sit up and winced. Pain shot down his left side, dull but deep, like every nerve had gone heavy. He looked down at his arm, an IV in one hand, monitor wires clinging to his chest. His breath caught. Zane? His mother's voice. He turned his head and saw her by his bedside, eyes red-rimmed, clutching a tissue in her lap. She stood quickly, brushing his hair back like she used to when he was a boy. Oh, my sweet boy. I was so scared. Zane blinked. His throat was dry. I'm fine. You're not fine, she said, voice cracking. You had a mild cardiac event. You collapsed, Zane. They said it was stress-induced, exhaustion, malnutrition, nerve compression. Your entire left side went weak. If Micah hadn't gotten you here in time, I don't want anyone to know, Zane cut in, his voice flat, cold again. No press, no staff, not even HR. His mother flinched. You think being human makes you weak? Micah's voice came from the corner of the room. Zane glanced over and saw him standing by the window, arms crossed, eyes sharp. This isn't about looking weak, Micah continued, walking over. It's about staying alive. Zane looked away. I have meetings next week, board approvals. There's a merger. Micah held up a hand. Stop, just stop. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded brochure. Old, worn at the edges, like something that had been carried for years. Do you remember when my dad had that car accident? Spinal fracture, nerve damage. Doctors said he'd never walk properly again. Zane nodded stiffly. Well, he went to a place, a retreat, up in the mountains, remote, quiet. Not a hospital, not a spa, something else. Micah handed him the brochure. They have healers there, not just doctors, people trained in both body and mind. The head teacher there. He helped my dad walk again. Helped him live again. And ever since, my father's funded the place, quietly. They take in a select number of people each year, high-pressure people, CEOs, world leaders, people like you. Zane stared at the worn photo on the brochure, misty mountains, winding stone paths, a wooden temple draped in greenery. This isn't a vacation, Micah said. It's survival. Your mom and I already spoke with them. One of the healer groups has an opening. His mother sat on the edge of the bed, taking Zane's hand. I lost your father to this life. I won't lose you too. Zane looked at her, really looked, and for the first time saw the fear behind her eyes. He'd inherited so much from his father, his ambition, his discipline, his armor. He would not inherit his ending. He nodded once. I'll go.
Thank you for listening. As the fire dims and the snow falls softly, may this story keep you warm. Until we meet again, stay cozy by the fireplace